You know, I remember when I was a little kid, and I was known as the one who would always look outside the window as we drove. And my mom would look back at me and say, "What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" And I would say, "I'm looking at the sky." As I got older, I'd always had an interest in weather, but I said to myself, I could probably do this in front of the camera and be pretty good at it. Well, went out to college and got my bachelor's degree from California State University, Los Angeles in speech communications. And then I realized that I wanted to get into weather. And so what I did was I went up to San Jose State, I got my minor in meteorology, and then I got my first job on television. In fact, it was in Santa Barbara, California. They just wanted me to be the fill-in person. So I did that for a couple of months. Eventually, after trying to get a job for 6 months, a full-time job, I finally got hired in Palm Springs. And at that point, I worked there for a couple of years. And after doing the weather in Palm Springs for a couple of years, I said to myself, I want to really tackle some weather. So I moved to a severe weather market, which was Raleigh, North Carolina. We had a major hurricane that struck, and I got there at probably 3 o'clock in the morning and didn't get home until probably 8 o'clock that night. So that was a very long day because the hurricane had made shore that morning, and we were just on 24/7. Having worked in Raleigh, North Carolina for a couple of years, I was ready to go on to another market. Now at this point, I said to myself, I want to become a meteorologist. So I started to go to school. I actually went to Mississippi State University and took courses over the internet so that I could get my degree in meteorology and become the best weatherman that I could. So then, having worked in Raleigh, North Carolina for a couple of years, I moved on to Indianapolis, Indiana, which was all about snow. I mean, that's the big deal in Indianapolis. It's about snow in the winter season. Sure, we have severe weather too, but the bigger story in Indianapolis is always about snow. And tackled that for a couple of years, and here I am now, leaving all that stuff back in the Great Lakes and coming all the way back to the Southwest, where I originally started in Palm Springs to do kind of the same thing. So I've already done it, worked in Palm Springs, done with the Desert Southwest, have worked in the Southwest, Desert Southwest. Now I'm here in Nevada, and we'll see what happens. There is a greater variation of weather than you would think. I mean, you can go up to the mountains where it can be at freezing, and then you can come down to the valley where it could be like 75 degrees. And then during the monsoonal season, where you have a wind direction change, you have onshore flow, you have moisture moving in, that's when you have thunderstorms that form. I think that'll be interesting to forecast. I did forecast that in Palm Springs, but I think here in the desert Southwest, here in Nevada, I think you have more of a moisture flow as far as the monsoonal season, so it'll be interesting to forecast severe thunderstorms if they do pop up. So that'll be something challenging for me to do when that does happen. You know what I'd really like to do is I'd like to one day get a chance to watch tornadoes form, because that's just incredible. Sit there and watch, you know, a wall of cloud, to watch a thunderstorm kind of moving through and watch the rotation start, and to actually see a tornado go from the cloud down to the ground. For me, it's more about meeting people out and about, talking about weather. I love going to schools and talking about weather to the kids. It's also about using personality. You know, in front of the camera, you know, the science can get kind of boring. But if you have a little bit of personality and you project that, people become a little bit more interested. So, you know, the science aspect of it, it's getting out in the community and talking to kids and parents about weather. And then, of course, forecasting is very important. I mean, the number one reason why people watch local television is for weather. And so that puts a lot on my shoulders. And when people tune in to see Darren, they want to try and get as most an accurate forecast as possible. And that's what I try and do, and that's what I'm here for.